Welcome, everybody. Coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Into the Fire, episode number 69. Coming to you, not really live. I'm actually pre-recording this, but that's okay because I'm probably going to stop in there and I'll be listening to you when we air this October the 3rd, 2025. A great guest tonight, Sharon Phillips, one of the standouts in the news industry here in Tulsa, a friend of mine, and actually the wife of one of our previous guests, Bobby Zigmont, who was talking about ABLE, the active bystander law enforcement training that is de-escalation training. But Sharon, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about her job, what she's doing in the job, what she's doing to make a difference, and I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, we've hit the 2,000 subscriber mark. That's big time. It makes me feel really important, and I'd like to increase that. So if you're coming across here, like and subscribe, please. Remember, there is merchandise available. The store is open. Feel free to jump in there and grab an item, and believe me, I appreciate it if you do, and that's really nice. You know, I don't make any money as of yet to do this. I'm not opposed to making money. It would be nice. I've spent, well, let's see, we've got, this is this episode number 69. That's a minimum of 69 hours, but I do this primarily. I do this really as a hobby, so it's really not about the money, but it is kind of fun to see people subscribe. I love the comments. I love them. And like I said, keep the comments coming in on the various episodes. They've been very, very, very good comments. As I said last week, remember on that Buford Pusser thing, if just one last time, I'll just mention this one last time to all the naysayers, and I do appreciate your comments and your opinion, but just remember that Mount Rushmore that exists in Tennessee, you've got Davy Crockett, Buford Pusser, and I'm going to throw in Elvis Presley on that mountain. And they didn't take that lightly to come up with their conclusion to talk about Buford Pusser and to say that they would do an indictment if he was alive today for murdering his wife. So just listen to the evidence and look into it and so forth. It's so good to be here. I'm so glad that we're able to do this. I want to thank Sharon for spending her evening to join us tonight. And we're going to have a good time, and I appreciate it. I'll say hi to Steph and to Phyllis and Darren and all the regulars, because I already know that you're going to be here, because I know you are, because you're that solid of super fans. Sharon was born and raised in the heart of Tulsa. Sharon Phillips isn't just reporting the news, she's living it. As a multi-Emmy nominated journalist with over 15 years of broadcast excellence, she's become the trusted voice that Tulsa turns to for the stories that matter most. From the anchor desk at KGRH Weekend's evening newscast to the streets pursuing her acclaimed investigative series, Oklahoma's Cold Case Files, Sharon brings an unmatched combination of journalistic rigor and genuine compassion to every story she tells. Her Oklahoma State University broadcast journalism training laid the foundation, but it's her natural gift for connecting with people that sets her apart, and amen to that. And I will attest to that. She's a master of human connection. Sharon possesses that rare ability to make people feel safe enough to share their deepest truths. Whether she's investigating cold cases that have haunted families for years, or covering breaking news, she approaches every interview with the empathy of a mother and the instincts of a seasoned investigator. Her philosophy is simple but profound. Always leave people better than you found them. And golly, I love that. That's great. I've heard that growing up, and that's good stuff. Recognition that speaks volumes. If you were to look at her trophy case, it tells the story. Emmy nominations, Society of Professional Journalists Awards, Great Plains Journalism Awards, and Oklahoma Association of Broadcasters honors. But the real measure of Sharon's impact isn't in the awards, it's in the lives changed, the cold cases reopened, and the community conversations sparked by her fearless reporting. She's not only doing all of that, but she's also a community champion. When the cameras stop rolling, Sharon's commitment to Tulsa continues. She lent her voice and time to emergency infant services, the Ronald McDonald House, Joy in the Cause, the Food Bank of Eastern Oklahoma, the American Red Cross, and Meals on Wheels. Because great journalism extends beyond the newsroom. Life beyond the lens. So basically, at home, Sharon treasures her gifted role as a mom to daughters Erilyn and Eden, and wife to husband Bobby. Their rescued golden retriever Sophie and French bulldog Cupcake. And I don't know that you can really call a French bulldog Cupcake, but I kind of like it. That's kind of cool. So, but they complete a family that values adventure, whether they're cruising to exotic destinations or discovering a new local restaurant. Sharon's perfect evening might include a warm bath, the latest People magazine, and a Dateline marathon. Yeah, me too. I like Dateline marathons. The perfect blend of relaxation and her passion for true crime storytelling. And finally, your story matters. Have a cold case that needs a fresh perspective? Her inbox is always opened at sharon.phillips or at kgrh.com. We'll put that on through the episode because every untold deserves a champion and every family deserves answers. I love it. And really, for the cases that are in Oklahoma, Northeast Oklahoma, she'll talk about cases throughout Oklahoma, but we're going to focus on Northeast Oklahoma because she's got, as you heard, she's got plenty to do. Let's bring on Sharon, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you.
This is awesome. I don't know if have you been on another podcast? I know you have a podcast.
Yes, we did a podcast originally for my cold cases, but I haven't been on any other podcasts. So I'm excited to get to talk to you and
Nice.
just have a good conversation.
Well, let's start off with telling people, first of all, now you're from Oklahoma. What made you want to do what you do I'm going to call you an investigative reporter first, and then you, I mean, of course you've elevated yourself to the anchor desk on the weekends, which is cool. But what made you interested in that to begin with?
I took a broadcast class in high school and it was my senior year. And, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do as I headed into college. And I took a broadcast class and just fell in love with it. I loved, getting out of the newsroom and going and talking to people and telling their stories and not just being stuck behind a desk all day. And just loved it. And so I knew right then that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Have you been at Channel 2 your whole career?
No, I was at a station, Fox 23 for 12
Okay.
years, and then ended up having my second child and decided I didn't want to chase murders and tornadoes anymore. And so I ended up resigning my position back in 2019. And then about a year and a half later, I was playing with my kids in the playroom upstairs, and I got a call from the general manager at Channel 2, the NBC affiliate here in Tulsa. And she said, I know we're your competitor, but would love for you to come work with us. And, would you be willing to jump back into the news? And I thought about it for a long time and thought, it's kind of in my blood and it's hard to leave something where you're never bored. And so I was ready at that moment to go back. So I did.
Yeah, and as I mentioned just a minute ago, that Bobby, her husband, Bobby Zigmont, who is one of our other episodes, he's a Tulsa police officer, so you're part of the family, and that's kind of neat because I would think that's more unusual than the norm, pretty unusual to be married to a police officer, I'm guessing, but nevertheless, so you get into this industry, and tell us just kind of how the journey is for somebody that's listening that thought, maybe I would want to do that. I'm sure that this is a career that's tough. I mean, you're out constantly hustling to get stories and to you have to move up the chain to be able to get those good stories too.
Yeah,
Is
you
that kind of
really
how?
do. I would encourage people if they want to get into broadcasting, it sounds glamorous and you're on TV and people think, oh, it's so sparkly and dazzling. But there are days where a lot of times we meet people on the worst day of their life, like you do as a police officer, and that can be really hard. And but it can also be really rewarding as well. And so if someone's listening to this and wants to get into broadcasting, it's super fun. I would definitely encourage you to find an internship with a local station, and you really learn how to do stuff with boots on the ground versus maybe in a classroom. So I learned a lot from my internship, and I actually interned at Channel 2 when I was 18. So got to
Neat.
do that. It was fun.
Yeah, that is cool. And so you've gotten many awards over the course of your 15 years plus. And I thought you'd done it longer than that. I just remember seeing you. I kind of remember now that you'd mentioned it that you were with Fox forever, but and then you made the move. So in doing that, uh, you know, I'm sure you had all those years of experience, but in that 12 or 15 years of experience, is there a story that really kind of stands out to you as being something that's kind of like that career story for you?
I remember when I was on the morning show, and that's actually where I met you when I worked on the morning show at Fox 23, and you were, working those homicides in the early hours. And one story that really sticks out to me, there was a shooting, a young man who was shot, and I was pretty green and pretty new, and my news director sent me out to the scene, and they always want us to try to speak to the family or someone related to the story that we're doing. And in my naivety, I should have waited, and instead I went up to the father, who was outside, and he was so distraught, as any father would be. He almost physically attacked me, and that was the first time that my life had ever been threatened while I was on the job. And I'll never forget it because we're friends now. We're Facebook friends, and he, in that moment, he had just lost his son, and I was a young reporter, not just kind of thinking about the story and not thinking about the impact and what had happened to him. And so that was a real learning moment for me. But I will never forget that story and that day. So
Yeah. Whereabouts did that happen? Do you remember?
that was in North Tulsa. Back then, there were a lot of shootings that happened, and I think it was a drive-by situation, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And do you remember Jason Trent?
Yes, I do.
It was that his son.
Yeah. That wasn't, oh yeah, he's a really nice guy. That case wasn't originally mine. It actually happened, I think, in 2000 and probably in 2008 or 2009,
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. And unfortunately, his son got shot through the front door of the house. And of course, we heard a lot of word of it. It wasn't originally mine. I wasn't in the unit then, but I kind of inherited it from the guy in front of me. And I started looking at it, and just a tragic case. And like I've told him over the years, I haven't spoke to him in several years, but when I met him, I liked him the moment I met him. And I think what happens is, Sharon, is, as well as I do, we solve a lot of cases here, and I think people are like, well, why not mine?
yeah.
And so, but that's, yeah, interesting. So I do remember that case. Now you work for Fox, you're working up the ranks. I would think personally that most reporters want to do true crime stuff. Is that kind of what you're working towards?
It is. Crime is one of the bigger, more responsibility type beats, they call them. And so typically we're all assigned different beats, and you might start off as a general assignment reporter, or take the education beat or the court system or that type of thing. And that makes it easier when you're a reporter looking for stories, because you kind of have some guidance of okay, if you're doing the courts, you go find stories in the court system to do, or the education system. And so I worked my way up to the crime beat and started getting to know the detectives. And one thing I would tell any budding journalist would be to get every contact you can. Always get a cell phone number. I've got cell phone numbers from all of you guys, Jason, and a lot of people on your team from years ago that
Mhm.
I got out on a story, and I still talk to them this day on different stories. So it's been really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure, and that really opens up a lot of doors for you. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about you, Sharon, is that, I've never seen a story that came out after we've talked to you that was any different than what we said. And you always did a really good job in portraying us to look good. We don't want to look stupid on there, where they show that one scene where we look, got a facial expression that we shouldn't have, etc. But so that means a lot. So Channel 2 is one of the biggies. So what now you end up going to. How did you get to the anchor desk? And even though it's the weekend one, you never know. I mean, you might make it to the during the week. I mean, that's possible. Is that what your goal is? I would think everybody wants to get on the anchor desk, right?
They do. They do. It's kind of the pinnacle of a journalist, and you, like you said, you have to work for it. And I had an opportunity. I was at Channel 2 for about a year when the weekend anchor spot opened up, and it is the weekends, and it's like, oh gosh, do I want to work the weekend? But it was the next step on the ladder for me, and it was just a dream come true to be able to make anchor, have that in my title, and show that I had achieved that next step. And so my schedule is Wednesday through Sunday, and so I report during the week, and then on the weekends get to anchor. So it's a good mix.
Yeah, that is a good mix. What is the size of Tulsa with respect to the market, if you know?
We're about a medium market, and so we're roughly a 62 market. So, for example, a Dallas would be like a number 5 or a number 10 market. The smaller the number, the bigger the market. So we're kind of a medium sized market.
Have you ever had any offers from other stations, or have you just been in Tulsa?
I actually was going to go work in San Diego, and this is kind of a funny story. I had moved to San Diego. I'd had a broken engagement here in Tulsa before I met Bobby, or before we got together, and moved to San Diego. My best friend lived down there on Coronado Island, and she was like, "You know what? Just come stay with us and kind of regroup." And so I did, and I applied at the Fox station there in San Diego, and I got all the way to like the third round of the interviews,
Mhm.
and they were talking to me, and they thought that I was bilingual, and I did have a little bit of Spanish, but not a lot, not enough to where I could report in
Right.
Spanish. And so that ended my interview there.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah, well,
yeah,
Abby Alford went to San Diego, to that
she did.
market.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we still keep in touch, and she's great. She's loving it down there. It's beautiful, beautiful
Yeah,
weather.
it is. I can't imagine. It also costs a motherload to live there.
Gosh, it
So,
does.
I don't
It's
know how in the heck she does it, but I would think it'd be really expensive to live there, even in that industry.
oh
But,
yeah,
now you're kinda locked here. You can't leave because of your husband's career. But,
right.
yeah, that's kinda caught you I wouldn't say stuck, because I think that the market is really nice here. One of the things that I'll just kinda mention to people out there, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sharon, I think that the relationship with the media in the city of Tulsa is really pretty amazing, actually, with
Oh,
between the police department and the news media here. It's not like this everywhere.
no, it's not. It is not, and we are so lucky. We have a wonderful relationship with the Tulsa Police Department, and you guys are so great because if your public information officers aren't available on a scene, you'll typically have a detective like yourself or supervisor come give us the information, and so we are so thankful to have that relationship with Tulsa.
Yeah, they usually, I haven't been reprimanded for talking to the media yet. It might come one day, but I can't I can't remember. And really, not many detectives will actually talk to you. Usually, they pawn that off to a supervisor. But if you know the case, I find it always one of those situations that I can remember going to. You'd have that group of reporters standing there, and I'm like, look. Don't ask me how many times they were shot. Don't ask. I'm not going to tell you.
Right.
I will tell you the basics, but I have to keep that stuff secret. We have to keep those as secrets for reasons that you already know. That basically we have to be able to, make sure that the information we get is legit. And so it's not that we don't want to tell people. Believe me, I want to tell people. I want people to be shocked and disgusted and want to call the cops. But anyway, so you're there, you're doing the anchor thing. Is it everything that you thought it would be? Is it just exciting every time you get there at that anchor desk?
When we're doing live shows, it is so exciting. It is you never know what's going to happen. You don't know if the teleprompter is going to die or if you toss out to a live reporter and their live shot dies and then they've got to toss back to you, or sometimes the control room will have you tap dance for a little bit until the weatherman can get ready, or vice versa. And so at Channel 2, we actually don't have a production crew on the floor. All of our cameras are robotic, and so the anchors have remotes, and we also have a foot pedal where we can control our own teleprompter. And I remember being terrified the first time I did a live show because I wasn't used to running my own prompter. But
Mhm.
after we did it a couple of times, that we really enjoyed it because you can really control the speed and stuff of which you read. So that was
Yeah.
an adjustment.
Yeah. And I would think that you at least, do you have the ability to kind of rehearse a little bit before you start doing that job? Do they, because when I see these sportscasters and stuff, I'm sitting there going, they had to have went through like a school to specifically learn how to talk. They just aren't that graceful in talking in front of a camera. Did you? I know you went through college for it, but was there a lot more practicing as far as that goes, or were you doing that at home, or what?
I think I really learned to do live stuff as a reporter. So I started as a morning reporter at Fox, and you're doing multiple live shots a day, and you just learn to get comfortable with it. And a lot of us will have our scripts on our cell phone. Back in the day, we would have paper scripts, but now everybody just emails their script on their phone. And so, you address the camera for a minute, you set up, I'm here at 71st and Yale. You can see behind me there was a fire that broke out of this apartment, yada, yada, yada. And then you have what's called a roll cue. And once you say that, the director will go to your video, and then you can kind of look down and read your script, unless you're just ad-libbing the whole thing on a breaking news situation.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. And you guys actually, at least I know that some people, they actually edit their footage when they get done filming it. Do you do that? Would you do that too?
No,
Or
I'm very lucky. Those are called MMJs, multimedia journalists. And so a lot of stations have kind of combined the photographer reporter role into one person. And so they have a very difficult job because they're doing the role of the photographer and the reporter. So they go out and shoot their story, and then they have to come back and write it and then edit it themselves. And whereas I'm kind of um, old school, I guess, if you will, there's a lot of us still just reporters. And so I'm lucky enough to have a photographer that I work with. And so he or she will shoot my video, I'll write my story, and then they'll put it together, and then I'll front it live if we're going live.
yeah, here in a second, Amanda, get ready to queue up that first video that I'd sent you. If you're ready, let me know. And so basically on that, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. Oh, she's ready. Let's throw it up there. That first video I sent you.
It's just more than a story.
3, 2, 1.
After the camera stops rolling,
There was a witness to this
you
homicide.
just think to yourself, how many of our viewers know something?
But she heard someone yell, "No, Bubba, don't."
Talk about the door.
You become addicted to finding the truth.
Surveillance video.
What does that mean for families like yours? These are families who live here, and I'm determined to help them.
Oklahoma's Cold Case Files with Sharon Phillips, only on 2 News.
Yeah, I love that. It gives you kind of an intro as to who you are and so forth. And the real reason that I brought you on here, it's a little selfish, to be honest with you. It's because I want to talk about what you're doing and your passion for profiling these cold cases. And what got you started in coming up with that idea? Was that an idea you came up with? Did somebody else approach you with this? And then you're like, oh, this is great,
Yeah, it actually it was just it kind of fell into my lap. My news director, they were looking for kind of a franchise to do, and they knew that I kind of had done the crime beat for a long time and knew that I was married to a police officer and that type of thing. And she called me in one day and just said, "Hey, we'd like for you to start doing Oklahoma cold cases." And I fell in love with it because it's something that I can use the power of our medium, where we can reach 80,000 people in 30 seconds. And so for these families who have lost their loved one, they may feel like their case was just put on a shelf and forgotten about 10 or 20 years later. This is something where we can highlight their case, go revisit with the investigators like yourself and the family, and then just do a 2-minute piece about that case and put it in front of the public again. Because as you often say, even the smallest thing could be the biggest break in a case.
Yeah, that's true. It's like doing a 20,000 person canvas. What I've noticed on some of those little spots that we do, and we need to do more of them. Actually, I said I've never been reprimanded. Yeah, I did get reprimanded once, but we won't go there. But the fact of the matter is, that's for another time. That's for episode number 1 when Jason retires, and we'll get in depth. But like I said, that's like doing a 20,000 person canvas, because I don't know what the ratings are for you guys anymore, but it has to be different than what it was 15 years ago. I mean, people just don't watch the traditional news
Mm-mm.
like they used to. They watch it on their phone. They get alerted, right? What are the ratings differences from then to
Oh,
back then? You know, it's
well,
got to be
Jason,
huge.
yeah, the biggest thing that we're struggling with right now is everybody gets their news on their cell phone. They get alerts, and this
Yeah.
is what we're fighting in linear television. And so, um, like you said, gone are the days of everybody sitting down and watching the 5 or 6 o'clock news after dinner. I mean, everybody is crazy busy with their schedules, and it's just it's crazy. And so, um, advertisers are fighting for those people to sit down and watch a newscast. And obviously we have a website that we push to and that type of thing, but it's just a different field.
Yeah, Amanda threw up there. We can call the show when I retire out of the fire. I don't know if that's going to be the name or not, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be electric.
It is. You are electric, my friend. You are fabulous. You are one of my favorite cops, and
Oh,
just enjoyed
thank you.
working with you so much over the years.
Yeah, let me tell you something. When I gotta give you props for this, Sharon. And my wife was in the hospital and she was really sick. I mean, really sick. She's lucky to be alive, to tell you the truth. And Sharon brought me some flowers for my wife. And you just don't get that from anybody. You know what I mean? And matter of fact, you're the only one that did that. And I really I won't forget it. So thank you so much. That's the kind of person that you are. And so as we're sitting here talking, and so you get onto this where they have this idea. Now you're going to have to deal with the fact that a lot of detectives don't like talking about some of these cases. And you're up against that too.
I
Some
sure
of them do. Some of them do. So now at least you have a lot of contacts already.
Mhm.
And so you start hitting the ground with this. And what was really kind of were you able to design kind of the backgrounds and all just kind of the podcast vibe to this, or how did that come about?
So we have a creative services team, a promotional team, and they were the ones who put together that promo that you just aired, and that's actually up for a national award too. That promo, and so they put all that together, and they create kind of the graphics for the Oklahoma's cold case files and all of that. And so we have kind of an animation that runs at the beginning of every story, and that kind of sets the story apart from your everyday general assignment story, so people know it's part of a franchise.
Let's go ahead and show that second clip, Amanda. This is going to be This is one of the spots that they put together.
A shootout on a cold, snowy day in 2018 claimed the life of a Union High School graduate. It happened in the parking lot of the Candlewood Suites near 71st and Memorial. 2 News anchor Sharon Phillips explains how even in death, Trey Seymour helped breathe life into others.
Trey Seymour could light up a room with his magnetic presence and cheerful grin.
Trey was the life of the party. The laughter, you knew his laugh a mile away. You knew it was him.
His mother, Kelly, says Trey never met a stranger and wanted to be everybody's friend. During his years at Union High School, he participated in programs like ROTC.
He was in ROTC, and it was the structure for him that he needed because he was a wild kid, but he needed that structure outside of the home.
She says November 12, 2018 is etched into her memory forever.
I cannot forget that day. It snowed. He called me that morning and was super excited about it snowing. He said, "Do you want to go to lunch?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll meet you for lunch. I have a doctor's appointment and I'll meet you back at the house."
As the snow blanketed Tulsa that day, officers say Trey's life would come to a tragic end. Tulsa police tell us that Trey had come up here to the Candlewood Suites to meet someone, and that's when they say 2 people walked up to his car and began shooting.
And this is a homicide that happened in broad daylight. It happened roughly sometime between noon and 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We don't know a lot of the details as to what was going on up inside of the car.
Fast forward, and Kelly was approached by Tulsa police.
And I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Well, Trey has been shot."
Frantic, Kelly raced to the hospital, praying and hoping her son was still alive. As the doctor approached her, she knew something was very wrong.
He said, "We've been working on him. We can still continue to work on him, but we don't think the quality of life is going to be there."
Kelly says she could barely speak, realizing she was about to lose another child.
I lost my son, my oldest, and he bumped his head on the tub. So we're still dealing with the brain injury. And I said, I just can't lose another child. You know, what is going on? Why am I losing my babies back to back?
Unbeknownst to her, Trey was listed as an organ donor.
I had relief because it let me know that he was the caring and giving person that I always knew. And they still didn't take that from him.
Kelly says that's where the miracle lies, in the midst of this tragedy. Even on his deathbed, Trey was still breathing life into others. His organs were used to save the lives of 8 other people. Kelly says she forgives the person responsible for taking the life of her son. But just like the shirt that she wears today, she is still finding faith over fear.
I've always been a believer of God, but more so now.
Sharon Phillips, 2 News, Oklahoma.
Anyone with information about the murder of Trey Seymour is asked to contact the Tulsa Police Department, or you can call Crime Stoppers. The number is 918-596-COPS. We're going in depth into our cold cases every week on the 2 News Oklahoma Cold Case podcast. Hear from the families, learn more about the victims, and hear how you can help those families find justice.
I love that. And yes, I picked it because it's one of my cases, but and you've got a handful of mine on there already, but it's good. I mean, you don't know how much I appreciate the fact, just not only it's really not up. It's not me. It's the families appreciate the fact that you're airing their loved one's case up there. And that's important. Plus to show some, that they were a real person kind of a thing.
Yeah, they were. And I think a lot of times, these families don't want their loved one to be known as a victim of a crime, because they were so much more than that. And that's what we really try to show. And with Trey Seymour, he was able to save 8 lives because he was an organ donor, and his story continued even after his death, and those other lives that he was able to save. And Jason, I got to give you and your team props, because we aired that initial story about Trey, and then just recently you all were able to solve Trey's murder and make an arrest in that case.
Yeah, it's kind of I love Kelly, number one, his mother. She's adorable. People have no idea how many times I've gotten phone calls or text messages from her over the years, most of which I answered. Sometimes I was just like, I can't deal with this right now, because it broke my heart every time I would speak to her. And it's trying to get, now she's good. But trust me, there was times when she's like, I want you to show the video. And I was like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. We're not going to lose this case because I'm doing something that I shouldn't do. So I had to hold my ground on that. And kind of the interesting part, just for the people that are watching this, it took us like 6 years to break the code on the cell phone to one guy that was involved in this. And I could have arrested him a long time ago, but we wouldn't have gotten anything, and we would have lost. And so we waited, we were patient. And now I know why he didn't want us in that phone. And so that led us to actually making the second arrest, and it's still ongoing. But that's what the importance of these things are, because, we may get a tip. And there have been, have you had any of those cases that, since you've aired them, has there been any instrumental call that came in from one of those cases?
To my knowledge, and I don't know if this was because of our story, I like to take credit for it, but
Sure.
it may not be. But we aired the story of Muhammad Imran. He was a gas station clerk that was shot and killed several years back. And the very next day, to my understanding, you all, the Tulsa Police Department, made an arrest in the getaway driver of that case. And so, of course, we like to take a little bit of credit in that, but I don't know if it was because of our story or it just the timing or what, but that was pretty exciting. So
No, that is exciting. And that picture that Amanda showed up a little bit ago that showed those playing cards. I'll tell you a little bit about do you know about those playing cards?
I do.
Yeah,
I
like
just
that.
aired a story this past week on the playing cards that the OSBI does. They put cold cases on those playing cards and then pass them out to prisoners in prison to try to help solve them.
Yeah, I think they charge like $1 something per pack, which is nothing. And the crazy part about those cold case cards, I think it's cool. I brought that up 16 years ago. I was like, we probably should consider doing that. And I kudos to the OSBI for actually coming up with them. Those things are they're not very successful. I would have thought that it would be like there'd be getting calls and tips on those things all the time, but those cards in prison have not generated a ton of. I mean, I want to say that I saw a story from Florida. It was like they've solved just a very small amount of case. I can't even remember the percent. It's very small, but still, I think we have to do it. I really do.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, I do
I
too.
gave I gave you a homework assignment to watch or to go check out the Iowa cold case site. Did you ever get around to it? If you didn't, I get it. You're busy, but have you
No, we
checked it
talked
out?
about it a while back, and I did look at it, and it's just amazing. And I really wish that Tulsa could do something like that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit discombobulated, and so I think having something like what Iowa does would be a game changer.
Yeah, I was actually looking at our cold case site today, as a matter of fact, and I was like, "Well, yeah, we solved that case 6 years ago." So I messaged the guy that kind of has the access, and I'm like, "Hey, man, we need to like put solved over the top of that or something." So I did
Which
send him a.
case was that?
Well, it's Latricia Phipps, and Latricia Phipps is a missing person from November of 2002, and it's a no body prosecution that we did. Actually, we're going to have her sister on here Friday,
Oh,
and
good.
I know I'm so stoked about it because that's another family that I've kind of adopted, and they've adopted me. That's the other takeaway is that some of these families you get to know them, and you're kind of like their tour guide
Hmm.
through the worst part of their life,
Yeah.
and you know them forever. I mean, literally, families I still communicate with, and I have for many, many years, and will continue. I have no doubt. But so you're putting these things together. You are starting to see. You're starting to do some stuff with OSBI. We've talked about that, which is great.
Yeah. We're
And
very excited about that. That took a while to get in with them, and we just recently kind of formed a partnership with them. And so now, once a month, they come here or we go there, and they present a few of their cases. And we just aired one on a terrible story out of Craig County, an elderly couple that was murdered in their home, and he was disabled. And ironically, this is kind of odd. So we were doing this terrible story all day, and we had interviewed their daughter in Welch, and then went to Craig County to get shots of the house where it happened. And she had warned us and said, just so you know, an Amish family bought the home and the property. And so while we were down shooting, we were kind of lower, and we were using our drone and to get shots of the house, and we could hear children playing in the yard, and I didn't want to freak the people out. And so we stopped what we were doing, and I walked up the gravel driveway, and lo and behold, an Amish man came out, and I told him who I was and what we were doing, and asked him if we could get some shots of his house, and he said that we could, but he didn't want us to show his children or him. So we were very respectful, but it was just unique that we were doing a double murder, and then here's this beautiful, peaceful family now lives in that home.
you know, did they know what happened?
They did, and I was worried about that. And so as I walked up, I just said to him, I'm a television journalist out of Tulsa, and we're here doing a story. Do you know what had happened at this house prior to you purchasing it? And he said yes. And I was so relieved because I didn't want to have to be the one to tell him, why we were there. But I think
Right.
I believe realtors have to disclose that kind of thing, don't they? If something,
I would think, but
you never know.
I got to tell you, Sharon, on some of these older cases and stuff, I have wanted to go back and I'm very reluctant because I'm like, do I want to knock on their door? I mean, this is going to be a real awkward moment for them, and this is not something that they want to go to bed that night thinking,
Right.
oh, well, that was great. We just had the homicide guy over here looking through our kitchen where this double murder happened. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I would think that they do know. I would think, but I really don't know. It is kind of creepy. just to think. And then I've asked my wife before. I'm like, hey, do you think you could live in that house or this house? And she's like, no, no.
Yeah. I
And I'm
mean,
like, well, yeah, I don't know, but I mean, I'm fascinated with that kind of stuff anyway. I mean, if I could get into the Amityville house up in New York, up in Amityville, New York, I'm in. I mean, I want to go in there and I want to check the house out, even though it doesn't even look the same. Or you know, and I've been to some of those houses, like the Clutter House up in Kansas, where the In Cold Blood by Truman Capote
oh
is
yeah,
from. You know,
yeah.
where the whole family got killed in 1959, 58 or 59, and I would love to go in. I'd love to go in that house. I've driven down the driveway. I just didn't go up there and go, hey, by the way, can I check out this house? You know, and just
I think
and
people are so
the house
fascinated.
looks this well. It looks the same inside. That
Yeah,
house has not changed much, and they are fascinated, but not the people that live there.
right. Yeah, I mean, you're so right. And when we were doing this cold case on the Holes couple, it was just gruesome and terrible, and we were just feeling so ugh. And then at the end of the day, this beautiful Amish family had turned this whole place into such a peaceful, serene place, and they're such a peaceful people. And we
Yeah.
left just feeling like, wow, what this is such a great ending to a really tragic story. Even though we were still focusing on the cold case, but just the property had such a different vibe after that.
So what's been the response from the viewers in reference to your cold case series? And is this something that you're going to be able to keep going?
And I'm really glad you asked that. We really rely on people like the Tulsa Police Department and other agencies to meet with us and talk about the cold cases because a lot of times, I need to speak to the investigators about the case to get the most accurate information. And then we rely on them to put us in touch with the families because we always want to try to include the families in these stories. And, sometimes we just can't. Maybe they've moved out of town or passed away or whatnot. But I know the Tulsa Police Department has over 300 cold cases. You guys have a cold case room. And so just love being able to talk with you. And I know you and I just recently did 3 cases together, and I was really grateful because you were so prepared. You brought the books and you were able to talk about the cases in such a conversational way and just really kind of paint a picture.
I appreciate it. I think that us being on TV for all these years kind of helps too. It's not that we're not freaking out about the camera and so forth. And really, I want to tell the story to where the people are gonna, listen. I've had cases where just one little insignificant detail broke the case wide open. And I say that all the time. You'd said that I said that, and I do say it because the little things to people. We came up with those flyers that we used to hand out at the fair. And you would hear it all the time. You'd hear, "Oh, I thought that case was already solved." And if people aren't, directly involved in that kind of stuff, you just never know. You got to try. We have to try to do something to get these cases to stay out there and to keep it in people. And people are fascinated by it anyway. Murder sells, and
Why is that?
it
Why do
does.
you think? Yeah, I mean, people are fascinated by true crime, and why is it just the mystery of it, or what? In your professional opinion, what do you think it is?
Well, I think that we're one of the few species on the planet that actually kill their own, and I think that the vast majority of people are just intrigued by that, and I think that most and plus we're inundated with shows like Dateline and 48 Hours and stuff like that, and those are the episodes that are really fascinating, kind of who done it, and the first 48. You got to
Oh
throw
yeah,
that in there too.
love
These are
that.
these are the types of shows that basically, I would say Dateline and 48 Hours more so than the first 48, where they're real mysteries and people are on the edge of their seat. I just recently watched a Dateline, and I know Steve Spagnuolo from Cold Justice, and he's also one of the detectives on the Dahmer case. And actually, I just had him on this show. He was on here a couple of episodes ago, and one of the things that I happened to watch one of the episodes that they profiled on Cold Justice, and I was just, it was a mystery to me, and I was shocked that they had a not guilty on that deal. And I was like, my gosh, are you serious? Based on, what I'd seen, I was like, you got to be kidding me. But still, even then, those are the types of cases that are really a mystery, and people are fascinated by it. They really are. And I am too. You know me, you know my story. I've been fascinated with murder since I was a little kid, and which is not normal. But I was, and it's just something that I think is I wish I could handpick my cases, Sharon. I really, really do. There's some of those cases that just they're not gripping. It's really kind of, some of them are really based on a lot of real stupid reasons. And to tell you the truth, some of these cases, even for you to even show those cases, there have been some of them that I'm like, I don't know about that one, or I don't know about this one, because really, I would rather show the ones that I know have a really, really good chance. And I'm not saying they all need to be profiled to some extent, but I'm saying in some of those instances, it's really tough because, believe it or not, the community is kind of behind the guy that did the killing.
Yeah.
because the guy that got killed was worse than the killer. And
we run into, I'm so glad you brought that up, because a lot of times the photo that we're showing is the mugshot of the victim, and he wasn't the best person in life.
I'll give you an example of that. I'll give you an example of one. We were child molesters. I've ran into that before, where they're like, there was one of them that was missing. This guy's missing, and I remember talking to the neighbors, and they're like, "Who gives a blank?" The guy's molested kids.
Wow.
I don't care. And literally, I'm like, well, all right, and that's what you get, from a lot of the different people. We're fortunate that we're able to get a lot of people that usually will come around. I think that here in Tulsa, we're blessed because you have a lot of people here that don't want those killers running around any more than anybody else. They just don't. They don't want to be a part of it, but they don't want them running around. So if people want to follow, well, first of all, you have a Facebook page too, and you are welcoming people to follow you.
Yes.
And it's and what's that link for that, Amanda? Throw that up, that link for that Facebook page of hers. Follow her on her Facebook page. Listen, she's looking for tips she's looking for stories. If you are a family in, I'm going to say specifically the northeast part of Oklahoma, okay, or the viewing area, because you guys probably trickle a little bit over into some of the other states, right? Like
we
Kansas,
do, like Kansas and stuff. Yeah.
So I would think that if you were in that viewing area of Channel 2, that she would be interested in hearing from you if you were a loved one of a cold case, and you want to have that option to be able to at least, what happens is that she basically goes to the investigators and she talks to them, or she talks to somebody from there, and not 100% guarantee that something's going to get aired on it. But I do think that by you inquiring, that I've told people for years, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and if you reach out and you continue to call those detectives, they're not going to forget about you. And just like Kelly, for me, I talked to her for years, and I know she appreciates the reasons why now, but contact her. You can contact her if you have questions in reference to cold cases and so forth. You're very approachable. I'm sure. Do you get inundated with messages?
We have started, we started that email. And so people have started emailing us. I actually got some snail mail the other day. This man sent me a letter, and I loved it. I loved opening the letter, and he was asking me to do a story about his mom. And we actually went down to Pawhuska just last week and met with him, and went to the site where his mother was found murdered, and just a really sad story. But he's really wanting some answers from OSBI. They do have some DNA in that case, and so we're going to highlight his mom's case, and her name's Joni Goodwin. So we'll be doing that soon. That's one of the cases I'm working on.
That's great. Is there any of these cold cases that really stand out to you that you've done on this series that you're just like, that maybe you can't, you even get gripped by it and you can't stop thinking about them a little bit?
Oh, Gabby's story, the one you told me about. That was the only child case that I've done, and that just broke me as a mother. And it's difficult for me now to go cover anything involving a child. I'm a mom. I have 2 girls, and anything involving children. And so when we did the story about Gabby, that definitely sticks out to me.
Yeah, and I actually knew her before she was murdered. She was one of my students at the middle school that I worked at as a school resource officer, and straight A student, by the way, and aspired to be a doctor. And I'm talking about Gabrielle Bledsoe. check out that episode of hers on her cold case. Check them all out, actually. But that one specifically, she was a straight A student and just an absolute, had never been even on a date before. And, I just need a little bit. On that case, I need just a little bit. And
I'm pulling for you, my friend, because I'm like with you. I want that one solved, and
yeah,
there's justice. They all do, but
they all do. I've got a good idea. Most of the time we've got an idea, because very few people get killed by complete strangers.
Mhm.
It's about 95% of these are people that know them.
Sure.
And so people can check this out. Do you have a YouTube page that has these specifically, or is it just they type in KGRH cold case or whatever?
They can just, they all are on YouTube. I'm not sure the exact YouTube link, but they can go to our website, kgrh.com. And then at the top of the page, there's a tab that says Oklahoma's Cold Case Files. And you can see all of the cases that we've done there.
Yeah. Well, regardless of what happens in the future for you, if you end up on the, all anchors don't stay there forever, and you may elevate to the next level. And if that happens, I really hope that at least at a minimum, you pass the torch to somebody else to continue doing this. I'm glad somebody else is doing it. Are you the only news station in the city that's covering this kind of stuff?
I know that there's another station that does missing people. They'll do like a quick, I think it's Channel 6. They'll do a quick missing person with OSBI, but no, we're the only one that's consistently for the past 2 years, every Thursday night, doing a cold case. So,
okay. Every Thursday night.
Mhm.
What time?
At 6 o'clock every Thursday at 6, and then we rerun it again on Sunday at 10.
Okay, good. I love it. Make sure you follow her on Facebook and check her out on the weekend evening. So that's the prime time during the weekend, I would assume, check her out on there. You can check her out online. She does a tremendous job. She's very, very professional. She does it. That's why if you need to talk to somebody, trust me, she's going to do it very professionally, and she's going to put you at ease. And if you don't want something talked about, she's not going to talk about it. So she's not going to trick you, and you're going to be sitting at home thinking, man, what was I doing by doing that? And I think that's good to even get it out there, even if the detectives, for whatever reason, don't want to. Usually the detectives are on board. I'll get calls from families. If you're a family member and you're watching this, you're like, well, I don't know if the detective would want. Just reach out to the detective and say, hey, listen, I'm gonna contact the media. Just they wanted to do this. Do you have any issue with that? And most of the time, I don't know of any times really that the detectives have ever really just said, no, don't do that. So do that just to make sure, because there may be something, and we're going to be off here in about 1 minute. So anything else that we should know about your site or how to get in contact? Anything else, Sharon? This is your show about you.
Well, thank you so much. It has been so fun talking to you. I think, if you all are watching this, we're here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Central Standard Time, and our cold cases air Thursday night at 6 p.m. and then again Sunday night at 10. And you can reach out to me. You can email me or contact me through Facebook if you have a cold case. I'd love to speak with you about it. So.
And by the way, I mentioned this when I was speaking recently down in Muskogee, and there was officers from a good part of that region. And I told them, I said, hey, listen, if you got a cold case, to call you. So you may get some calls from some of those people in that class, because they were like, really? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, where have you been? Yes, you can call her. She's looking for cases to talk about.
Absolutely.
And I said, hey, if you've got a case that's kind of stuck, what do you got to lose? You really don't have anything to lose. Just keep kind of stuff a little bit quiet. I mean, the intimate details of the case, but just by merely getting it out there, you'd be surprised. People's relationships change, and so forth. But we're going to leave it at that. I appreciate you, Sharon. I think you're great. I really do. I think you're awesome. And I have no doubt in that I'm going to be talking to you about some more cases down the line, and maybe getting some more out there would be fantastic. And I appreciate your time. Get back to your kids and get back to Bobby. And thanks again, everybody. To the viewers, make sure that you follow her on her Facebook page. Follow me on my Facebook page,
yes.
Detective Jason White. And check and make sure that you like and subscribe on YouTube. Once again, please, I want to see about 10 more people tomorrow, and that'd be great. and we'll keep growing the people. We want to get the people. We want it to go crazy. So anyway, until then, until next time, take us out, Amanda.